What would you do if your child was dying, and your only hope rested in finding one person in a crowd of thousands? In first-century Palestine, a synagogue ruler named Jairus faced this exact nightmare. His 12-year-old daughter lay dying, and conventional medicine had failed. In desperation, this religious leader sought out Jesus of Nazareth, a controversial rabbi whose reputation for miraculous healings had spread throughout Galilee. Jairus held a position of immense respect in his community. As a synagogue ruler, he oversaw worship services and maintained order in religious matters. Yet here he was, abandoning all dignity and protocol. When he found Jesus surrounded by pressing crowds, Jairus fell at the teacher's feet in public desperation. "My little daughter is dying," he pleaded, as recorded in Mark chapter 5 verse 23. "Please come and put your hands on her so that she will be healed and live." This wasn't merely a request, it was a father's heart breaking in real time. Jesus immediately agreed to come. Hope surged through Jairus as they began the journey to his home. But then something happened that must have felt like torture to an anxious father. The crowd pressed in around Jesus, slowing their progress to an agonizing crawl. Suddenly, Jesus stopped completely. A woman who had suffered from bleeding for 12 years had touched his cloak and been instantly healed. While Jesus spoke with her, precious minutes ticked away. Jairus must have felt his heart pounding as he watched his daughter's life slipping away with each passing moment. Then the worst possible news arrived. Servants from Jairus' household pushed through the crowd with devastating words. "Your daughter is dead, why bother the teacher anymore?" In Mark 5:35 we see the moment when hope seemed to die. But Jesus overheard these words of despair. Immediately he turned to Jairus with a command that defied human logic. "Don't be afraid, just believe." In that moment, Jesus was asking this grieving father to trust beyond what his eyes could see and his heart could bear. Jesus then did something remarkable. He dismissed the crowd and selected only Peter, James, and John to accompany them. This wasn't a public spectacle, it was an intimate demonstration of divine power over death itself. When they arrived at Jairus' home, the scene was chaos. Professional mourners were already wailing, and relatives were consumed with grief. The finality of death had settled over the household like a suffocating blanket. Jesus surveyed the commotion and made a statement that seemed almost cruel to grieving hearts. "Why all this commotion and wailing? The child is not dead but asleep." The mourners laughed at him with bitter scorn. Death was death, and they knew it when they saw it. But Jesus put them all outside. He took only the child's parents and his 3 disciples into the room where the girl's lifeless body lay. In that quiet space, away from doubt and mockery, Jesus approached the bed. What happened next demonstrates why Jesus is called the resurrection and the life. He took the little girl's cold hand in his and spoke 2 simple Aramaic words. Talitha koum. Mark 5:41 translates this as, "Little girl, I say to you, get up." Immediately, the impossible happened. The 12-year-old girl stood up and began walking around. Life had returned to her body through the spoken word of Christ. The same voice that had called worlds into existence now called this child back from death. Jesus then did something beautifully practical. He told them to give her something to eat. Even in the midst of a stupendous miracle, he cared about her physical needs. This wasn't just a display of power, it was an act of compassionate restoration. This miracle reveals profound truths about Jesus' identity and authority. While others might heal diseases or cast out demons, only God himself has authority over death. Through this act, Jesus demonstrated that he is indeed the source of all life. For Jairus, this experience transformed his understanding of faith. He learned that God's timing isn't always our timing, but it's always perfect. The delay that seemed so cruel actually set the stage for an even greater miracle. This story speaks directly to our deepest fears and greatest hopes. Death remains humanity's final enemy, the one foe that no human power can ultimately defeat. Yet in Jesus, we see someone who holds the keys to life and death itself. Jairus' daughter would eventually die again in the natural course of life, but this miracle pointed to something far greater, the promise that death itself will one day be conquered forever through Christ's own resurrection power. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Then hit the notification bell so you won't miss the new weekly videos.